Bobyard that just announced 35 million Series A by VC to automate construction takeoffs. They claim their computer vision handles 70% of the process, letting contractors bid in minutes, not hours.
Quantity takeoff is not the most time-consuming aspect of pre-construction. For any person that's ever been a part of pre-construction, that spans years. You do not spend years doing quantity takeoff. My cousin owns a landscaping company, and he often never sees drawings. He'll walk a project site, and his ability to look at drawings is just his ability to look at drawings, is able to quantify it.
So the 523 billion, which countries have less GDP than this, right? So United Arab Emirates, so a lot of oil that is there. Austria, not exactly a small country either. Norway, big oil and gas exporter. And Vietnam, Iran, another oil country. Colombia, another oil country. I mean, Chile, a big rare earth and minerals country. So basically, he has more contracted revenue, okay, that he has to deliver, yeah, but that's a lot of countries.
Okay, we are live. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening for myself. How are you guys?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mark, where's your sidekick?
My side gig?
Kick. The little British guy.
Oh, yes. He is. He's wandering in Central Parks in the UK with his family. Exact location undisclosed. So, but if someone sees a guy wandering around and talking about construction technology, you can send him to us.
Well, good for all.
Yeah, Gemini helped me to come up with that one. Okay,
but
so
you're not
we
in
have
the UK.
No, I'm visiting Dubai, pitching for work.
Spending real estate money. I know you.
No, pitching for work. Yeah. Okay, so today we have a few things. We start with Bobyard, who just announced 35 million Series A by 8 VC to automate construction takeoffs. They claim their computer vision handles 70% of the process, letting contractors bid in minutes, not hours. So we had a lot of funding news in the last year or so in this space. So I really need to get your thoughts on this, and especially you, Dustin, because you even built in a pre-con. Then we will have Oracle earnings. Then we will jump into Dial in. Tanmay from Parallax Worlds will join us. They just raised 4.9 million to build hyper-realistic digital twins that stress test robots before they ever hit the factory floor.
Super cool thesis, by the way. Super cool thesis.
I was actually wondering what you think about this, because I know you've invested in at least 2 robotic startups. One would be Monumental, another one Reframe. So yeah, I was going to ask you about that. And last but not least, we have a teaser of a great debate which will happen on Tuesday at 3:30 GMT. So Mike and Luigi will be joining us. They will be debating whether modern large language models like Gemini or ChatGPT have solved construction estimating and construction problem, right? So Mike argues that the problem is solved by these large language models like Gemini and ChatGPT. And he says that the off-shelf solutions can hit 100% accuracy on the symbol detection just today. Where Luigi, he says that this is a dangerous illusion and the messy reality of construction liability breaks generic models every time. So that's for today. What do you guys think?
It's a full docket.
Yes. Okay, and so last thing, what?
Let's jump in.
The last thing I would say that next week is last Bricks, Packs and Bytes of 2025. So it might be our Christmas special.
Oh,
Yes. So we might be in costumes. Just prepare yourselves.
oh, wow. Is there a Christmas celebration in the Picard's house? Is that something you do a lot, Martin?
Yes, we do. This year, all of our family will be there, and yeah, hopefully it will be snowy as well. We have 12 dishes on the table on the 24th, and we eat a lot.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, if you're
Good
in
for you.
Dubai, don't hope for snow.
I hope for snow. I really hope for snow. Okay. So the first one. Let me just pull. So Bobyard. Okay, so Bobyard, AI platform transforming how contractors perform construction takes-off and estimates. Bobyard, the AI platform transforming how the contractors perform. Sorry, I just read it the second time. They announced 35 million Series A by 8VC with participation from Peer VC, Primary Venture Partners, Tishman Speyer, RXR, Caffeinated Capital, Married Ventures.
I love
so
that name,
I know.
Caffeinated Capital. It's a great name.
Yes.
Don't know them at all.
So,
Love the name.
do you know any of those?
I know
Yeah,
several of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Are
think,
they construction specific?
Primary caught my eye. Primary caught my eye here. Primary is the name that I follow the closest in this group. Quite interesting bet.
Are they construction specific? Any of those?
No, I think all
No.
of them. I mean, Tishman
Well,
as a strategic,
Tishman,
maybe.
yeah.
Okay.
Tishman and RXR is a developer.
Okay. So Bobyard's claims really is that their proprietary computer vision technology automates up to 70% of the quantity and material takes-off process, which they claim it is the most time-consuming step in the pre-construction. The platform enables contractors to prepare accurate bids in minutes instead of hours. Takeoffs from foundation of pre-construction form the foundation of pre-construction, and Bobyard's trade-specific models interpret blueprints the way seasoned estimators do. So trade-specific models, I guess they're talking about large language models here. They are starting with landscaping right now as one of the most complex and overlooked trades, which I wouldn't say at all that landscape is complex,
No.
but yeah, Bobyard has quickly become the platform of choice for leading commercial contractors across the United States. That's what it says on the on here. Contractors report an average 65% reduction in takeoff times, 3 to 5x more bids submitted per estimator, and more consistent, accurate takes-off that directly improve win rates and margins. What do we think? So maybe Dustin, you built in Precon as well with Edify. How do you see Bobyard specializing in landscaping and then trying to go into other verticals of construction?
Well, there's a few things that I think are interesting. One, there's a little bit of noise coming back from one of y'all, but there we go. Okay, so one of the things I think is quite interesting is the founder seems brilliant. As I understood it, he came from Stanford, so I'm sure that he's able to build. We'll just take the assumption they are able to build an extremely good model for extracting information from documents and quantifying what's in those documents. That's tremendous. But I think there's a couple assumptions built into what they say, both in that press release and on their website, that are objectively incorrect. Estimating quantity takeoff is not the most time-consuming aspect of pre-construction. For any person that's ever been a part of pre-construction, that spans years. You do not spend years doing quantity takeoff. That is just completely inaccurate. And they even say that every estimate, schedule, and procurement decision begins with a takeoff. That is not true. If someone talked to me about
it begin?
Well, it begins with a conversation or an idea. If a client has an idea for a project, I can build a schedule around it, especially if I've been in construction long enough. And I can build an estimate without ever seeing documents. Like, there is many, many instances. And the funny thing is, my cousin owns a landscaping company, and he often never sees drawings. He'll walk a project site, and his ability to look at drawings is just his ability to look at drawings. He's able to quantify it. And it also, they talk about how many estimates they're able to complete. That is not the top KPI if you're a trade contractor, of how many estimates you're able to complete, meaning how many bids you're able to send equals how profitable of a business you are. You're missing the equation of what is my gross margins, what's my win rate of those bids. And so like making sensationalizing quantity takeoff as being the cure for everything that goes on in pre-con, and then saying it's the foundation for everything, that's just completely inaccurate. And yeah, so I'm sure that they're working on extracting information from documents, which is great, but that is not solving pre-construction. It's just not. And it's not the foundation for every estimate, every schedule, and the procurement process. Completely inaccurate.
I have to say, I kind of resonated with the landscaping insertion point, and it sounded to me like from the press release that you read, Martin, that landscaping is not the end game the way they see it. Yeah, and I think these will be very ambitious founders. Why would they stop at landscaping? I still like it as an insertion point, but I'm not quite. I'm lacking the information, I guess, how from landscape, you're doing visual segmentation. If you're taking a landscaping drawing and you're automating the takeoff from that, as you would do it from an electrical drawing or from whatever other parts of the MEP or even a floor plan. And so that capability from landscaping image segmentation to extrapolate that capability into, for example, an electrical plan, I'm not quite seeing how that same capability would translate. So that's the part that I don't like about the insertion point. But I like about the insertion point that it's narrow, that I get why it's a little bit less noisy. Because think of it like this, right? So electrical drawings, for example, you could have a huge amount of symbols, and these symbols can even vary slightly. Dustin, correct me if you have a different experience, but they can vary slightly among slightly different types of companies or slightly different geographies, etc. By and large, they will be the same, but they will be edge-cased a lot, and the variation is very high. Now, in landscaping, however, the way that landscapers in a country draw, everybody has a slightly different style, but it's not symbol led. It's mostly artistic to a degree. It's much closer to how you would be able to train or to have trained ChatGPT on images. And so I really like that insertion point. And when I saw it, I was even surprised that why has nobody chosen it? It seems like a almost open field as an insertion point. I like that, but I don't think it will translate very easily from the visual segmentation capability into the other parts of it. And then I get your point too, Dustin. I think saying, hey, because I can visually segment a landscaping drawing, that's how I solve pre-construction. It's narrative, of course. You will have to have a lot of other things to solve for it.
I agree with you, though. I do like companies that rather than say, oh, we are everything for everyone and attaching the word AI to it, therefore that gives me credibility. At the very least, Bobyard is taking a surgical approach, and that can give them, hey, we're just going to own landscaping, and then we're going to own the next segment and the next segment, a methodology to go out and go after the market. But like you said, landscaping is more artistic and even like, yeah, so it's more like more artistic than, say, electrical or mechanical, and cross-referencing a lot of sheets and making some calculation assumptions on what you would need. But it feels like just people getting into the space, making sensational claims is all over. And it's going to erode the confidence in the market and people to distill like who actually understands the problems versus who understands just the technology. And I have a sense that they understand the technology and have very little understanding of macro problems to actually build a long-term strategy that can build the next generation of publicly traded companies or even high dollar value exits.
Yeah, that's a bit aside from Bobyard, but how do you vet if the company kind of from foundation standpoint makes sense and it's not just a bold claim of someone? I don't think there is a way to. Capital should be one of those ways to indicate if the capital goes into a startup. That means that there is some foundations there, right?
But Martin, what makes you so sure that early stage investors are even asking the question that you are asking? So I might blow your mind a little bit, but there is a breed of investors that are very successful at early stage that don't even try to understand the market, as long as they, I'm doing the air quotes thing, obsess over, we want to crack the code of founders, the types of founders that will always succeed, the types of founders who will then understand the market, what they have to do. And so there are successful early stage investors that actually obsess so much with the founder taste that they have that they don't even want to ask themselves the question, because they feel like, hey, if I try to answer it as a non-expert, why should I be more successful than the best founder that I can find that will obsess with that problem? It's not my approach. It's not my craft, because I do think I have an obligation to understand it. And I also get myself hopefully enough repetitions in every specific market that I try to cover that I should have an informed opinion. But I will just point out to you, Martin, the question that you're asking is already kind of taking that part of the investor landscape away that just obsesses with founders.
Well, I also think, Martin, you are discounting how many, and I'm not implying this for the investors of this deal, how many VCs have a tremendous amount of capital that really shouldn't because they're idiots. And they get to invest in whatever they want. I have no problem saying it. I'm old enough now. There's a lot of dumb VCs out there. They're just not good. If you're an LP out there, find someone better. Like, my God.
Oh my God.
Okay.
I'm not applying this at all in this deal. I did look at that founder. He looks incredibly intelligent. I'm sure they're building really great technology. So not here. But just because a company raises capital from a particular VC, that is not a signal that this company was probably properly vetted or this thesis makes any sense. So I'm just telling you, there's people there that for some reason or another, they're scratching an itch. They might have urgency. They want to do some capital calls. They want to show activity. And they just deploy capital.
And 35 million, I mean, congrats to Bobyard. That is a big round.
It's a great round.
So that is, you can't do that with small funds. So for that, the likes of HVC and Primary, they can write these checks. So and I'm sure founder bet here was a very, very important part.
Yeah, I'm sure the technology is excellent, actually. I really am sure the technology is excellent. And the team's probably stellar. So
can we say a little bit about like this trade-specific models, maybe in the light of the later conversation that we will have with Mike and Luigi? What do you guys think about trade-specific models? And I mean large language models here.
I can start with it, Dustin, and I think you can detail it better than I can. But there are different directions how you can interpret this. I don't have any privileged insight here how it would exactly be in the Bobyard model, but you will perhaps see 2 or 3 interpretations of that across their, let's say, peer set in the market. So the first one is you can basically work with established large models, and you can fine-tune the embeddings that you have with regard to the text as well as the visual interpretation. And that is one type of peer set that they have, is we're going to fine-tune, we're going to optimize the embeddings, and we will repeat that for every type of trace, for landscaping, for electrical perhaps, and so on and so forth. At the other extreme end of the spectrum, you can find companies that actually say, okay, I'm going to use large models, mostly to, for example, access my databases, do some, allow my user to prompt me, but actually in the backend, I'm running my own proprietary knowledge graphs. That's another smaller peer set that I have looked at in the market. Recent one that, Dustin knows very well too. is one where the founder basically comes from 28 years of machine learning and applied machine learning, really in the both Silicon Valley and New York ecosystems. And so there, it's completely building your own databases and your own models in order to cross-correlate all the vast amount of information. And so somewhere in the middle, you will have companies that do combination of things. So for example, InspectMind, which is another peer to Bobyard, and there are others. So not to make it about any of them, they will also have a hybrid combination. I'm only mentioning InspectMind because he actually spoke about that on Hacker News. And so that's a public thread where he spoke about their approach. And so you can read it up. And so that will be a combination. And again, the combination will then be fine-tuned to each specific trade.
The trade-specific approach is actually mirroring some of the approaches you're seeing in the generative design space, where you have companies that are working on generative design, for example, Augmenta on electrical, where they're going, hey, I want to work on a specific aspect of design rather than saying, hey, here's a building. Well, now that I have some of the elements of the building, how would I very rapidly do the design and detailing of a specific aspect of it, like a mechanical system, a fire sprinkler system, or an electrical system. Fire
Good
sprinklers
example.
being always design build, because actually doing a generative design of an entire building like a hospital is not possible right now. You would just get something that's absurd because there's so much like programming and user preferences and some other nuances that are going on behind the scenes. But you have companies that are like, oh, you know what? Let's not do the whole building from day one. Let's figure out an aspect that could save a substantial amount of time. And I'm sure you'll see this actually. I think structural engineering, a lot of the structural calculations will be some of the stuff that we can automate a lot more, some of those structural detailings even. But that would be a mirrored approach on the design side.
Which one you think will be kind of the winning? What's the guess? The trade specific or more? What will be the fastest? The trade specific ones or more general?
I think we are going to get a debate, not sweep, between two polar opposite individuals.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to answer. I'm somehow thought I should be a moderator of that debate. I guess I have to say thank you, but I don't get to have an opinion. Sorry.
Okay.
Just tune in. We're gonna make it breakfast TV in San Francisco. So 6:30 a.m. San Francisco time, breakfast TV. You're gonna be able to watch that debate between Mike and Luigi, and we can all learn the answer, Mark.
I will say one thing on quantifying 2D drawings. People are going to spend a lot of time trying to optimize it so that errors are completely eliminated. And there is a point of diminishing returns. So I'm curious if they approach it like that. For example, let's just say your model is able to, this will be a shitty example. Let's just say it calculates all the flooring tile and it did it really rapidly. And it came up with 12,500 square feet of flooring tile. And you realize it hallucinated something, and it's really 12,480 square feet. Truth is, I don't give two shits about the 20 square feet when I'm estimating. So I think the definition of who's going to win is, can the general models just reach a point where the deltas aren't going to impede? Like, you're never going to miss a chiller. Something that like you're just like, oh, well, that's screwed. But if the subtleties become so minuscule, it doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, we all forget we're estimating. And whether we have the quantity 100% right, we don't even know what the unit cost is anyway. Like, it's still a guess. We don't actually know to a high level of precision.
Let me build on that, Dustin. Actually, you're getting into a passion topic of mine, that when I looked at price hedging for construction materials, I realized this too. So I can build on what you're saying. So not only is a 4% variation on takeoff, so let's say you're off 500 on 12,500, a 4% variation isn't that high. But actually, on top of that, the costs are made up of quantity, times the price. So on the quantity, the 4% that you're up on one set of quantity, you will actually be below and short on another one. So on the quantity side of the equation, almost every project will sort of have a statistical buffering effect into it, because you're not going to be systematically judging too much. And if you do, fire your estimator, right? But estimators are typically the most experienced people from the field. They are not the least experienced people. They are oftentimes the most well-paid within your project organization, or let's say pre-project in this case, organization. So you have the very best people. If they systematically just overestimate, then maybe you should fire them. But more realistically, what happens in all the contexts that I have seen is that on some you will be 4% over, on some you will be 4% under, etc. So overall, you're statistically buffering the sort of standard deviation. It basically gets normalized better and better. But that's the quantity side. But you know what nobody talks about in all these let's automate the estimation of quantities? It's the fucking price, man. It's the fucking price. Sorry, but we work with age-old price databases that every general contractor protects like their children, or the chicken protect their eggs. And I'm like, well, you're really protecting 1-year-old information. Like, what do you think your competitor is going to do with it? If your price database is 1 year old, you should actually give it to your competitors so that they will be wrong, not you, right? So if you want to solve for the whole cost, the quantity part is the less interesting, in my opinion. The price part is the much more important one. And so for that, I need to get as real time as possible. But I might only purchase that material in a year from now. I mean, what happened to timber prices in 2021?
You're hitting the nail on the head. Price to complete work involves labor, equipment, material, and other, whatever that other is. And that is more variable than how much the disconnect from, in my opinion, that will be a bigger driver of discrepancies in the future between a custom built model and these general foundational models. So that would be, if you ask me where the industry goes, yeah, I think that kind of foreshadows where my opinion lies.
I'll just add that my experience where I spent 2 years on construction side as a young engineer, we never ordered anything from the estimating from the bidding process. We always like cross-checked and I recalculated things again and make sure that we are ordering the right quantities. So like you, I think Dustin said earlier that it kind of doesn't matter that much, at the estimating stage.
I mean, it does. Like it's just there's to a certain point of diminishing returns.
To a certain point, yeah. Yes. Okay. Anything else on Bobyard?
I like the inversion point. Yeah.
Congratulations then. Okay, so next one we have Oracle drags down NVIDIA and other AI stocks as bubble fears intensify. So shares of Oracle plunged 14% Thursday morning and sent a shiver through the entire AI trade as investors questioned the sustainability of big tech spending. What's happening here?
So, never financial advice. I do own Oracle stock, so today's been a rough morning. However,
I know you can weather it.
I'll be okay. It's a mixed earnings report. I think that the bears are controlling this narrative for the short term, but Oracle also announced their remaining performance obligations. So this is contracted payments and revenue they're going to realize, which has skyrocketed to $523 billion. And I think they said they're supposed to realize 40% of $523 billion in the next year. So they are aggressively using debt financing via bonds and more traditional vehicles and potentially issuing some new stock to build out their capacity, but they have the orders in and they don't have the supply to fulfill the demand. Why this pertains to construction, obviously this data center is a huge boom for the market. These things are still going to be built. The the demand is still sitting there and there's not enough supply for it. I tend to think if the Bears had their way, they'd try to stop Larry Ellison. And I'm 42 years old, and that man has been beating bears against him my entire life. So I think you guys, if you bet against Oracle, are in for a world of pain.
I mean, he definitely built a massive company. And how old is Oracle? 40 years maybe? Or is it older than that?
It's early 80s, yeah.
Yeah, he's
Or
been
late
there
70s.
40, I think, 3 years old or something.
Amazing, no? I mean, he came after SAP. SAP is from the 60s. And so he built that like, whatever, like 15, 20 years after. Sorry, I wanted to insert this fun fact. So the 523 billion, which countries have less GDP than this, right? So United Arab Emirates. So a lot of oil that is there. Austria, not exactly a small country either. Norway, big oil and gas exporter. And Vietnam, Iran, another oil country. Colombia, another oil country. I mean, Chile, a big rare earth and minerals country. So basically, he has more contracted revenue, okay, that he has to deliver, yeah, but that's a lot of countries' GDP.
Yeah. So we'll see how
Amazing.
long this dip lasts, because the Oracle has a unique capacity. They also will spin up these AI data centers in sovereign locations. Which is going to be critical when you start thinking about every government's going to want their own AI center. And Oracle's going to be the preferred
locations. What does that mean?
In that it'll be when they're contracting with governments, because Oracle supports like half of the financial institutions in the world. So you're only going to run your financial models
So what's their role within this kind of
in your location? So
the whole AI space.
They're going to be building for every government in the world.
So they are providing
Did I lose
platform,
everyone,
right?
or did you lose
For cloud applications. Yeah.
So imagine it like this, right?
I think I missed the news why it has gone up so much in the last thing this year. What was the reason for that?
I mean, imagine you're in a world, Martin, where everybody believes that AI will continue exploding. And for that, you will need a lot of compute. Now, in order to have a lot of compute, you need the right processors, which is why it was a big deal that that Google actually trained the latest Gemini model not on GPUs, but on TPUs. So you will need the processors. And you will need actually the whole thing that houses processors, runs it with energy, distributes the processing. And so that's the data center part, right? And so if you can own that capacity in a market where everybody believes that this thing is going to keep compounding, keep becoming bigger and bigger, that's one of the two assets that you really want to own in order to profit the most from all of that. Now, when that becomes a liability, though, is when all of that promise in the market is not there, and now you sit on land that you bought, lines that you built, racks that you built, processors that you bought, etc. So it's not going to be volatile, because typically when you do that, you have long-term purchase agreements with hyperscalers, right? So basically what Oracle did is they closed very long-term agreements, to my knowledge that is, correct me if I'm wrong, with hyperscalers. And so now, however, in order to satisfy these contracts, they have to spin up that supply, the data centers, right? Because the hyperscaler demand, that's what they want you to deliver. I think we'll get Dustin back every minute, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's the business that you're looking at with these 523, to your question.
I have no idea what happened.
That's the Oracle data center just went out on
Yes. Yeah, you said something not positive.
Yeah. Actually, do you guys know? So the general, I was wondering this when you mentioned the 523, Dustin, and that it's sort of revenue to be realized. So when you're a general contractor that serves the owner / developer of the data center, typically you have like very, very strict covenants, with high penalties, way stricter and way higher than if you were to build, let's say, a normal run-of-the-mill type contract. And some of these contractors, they accept very risky covenants so that they make the data center a priority, so that it comes online very quickly for their customer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Do you know if the same applies to Oracle in their contract with the hyperscaler, that the hyperscaler penalizes them heavily if the data center capacity isn't there?
I have no idea if they have any terms of like, you can have construction projects with LDs of $1 million or $2 million for a week or a day, but I have no idea in terms of Oracle. I don't think that they make a lot of the specifics of their contract public.
Yeah,
That would be interesting to uncover.
Yeah, because if that were the case, then if you know this and you're a bear on Oracle, then the 523 doesn't look like revenue to you. It actually might look like an obligation to you. I don't know the answer.
So bubble is not bursting yet. That's your conclusion.
Well, people were touting, Oracle now has 100 billion in debt. They've had 100 billion in debt before. Like, people don't realize they always carry a bunch of debt. The company's always had debt. That's how Larry Ellison's, he's debt financed his entire history of his organization. There's been no one more effective at debt financing in the history of the world.
Even if the companies are super profitable, debt financing, I've heard, is a very good way to get capital, working capital, I think you called it, yeah, in this financial world.
Yeah, I looked it up. Oracle's average debt is 6 to 7%. And if your average debt is 6 to 7%, but you grow top line and EBITDA at 20, they reported 18, they expect it to jump to 20 to 30, then it's very lucrative.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the old saying is, if you owe your bank $1 million, it's your problem. If you owe your bank 100 billion, it's their problem.
Their problem, yeah.
Too big to fail.
So they can go down. Yeah. Well, if they do, you know who is going to pay for it? All of us.
That's right.
Everyone will chip in.
Well, didn't that person on OpenAI suggest the government back their loans? Well, who was that person? She was like the CEO of OpenAI. Yeah, she was like, perhaps the government, backstops us.
Oh, so she was asking for, I think, what was it, 1.5 trillion to not
like
directly
government guarantees.
Yeah. But I think, no, then she said the next day that she didn't mean that. So I think it was just journalistic misunderstanding.
No, she said it. I saw the reporting. She said it. I don't think you accidentally say that.
Okay, so we still have around 10 minutes for our first guess. What's
happening in Dubai? So you're down there a lot. So what's the market for you like?
What's happening in Dubai? I mean, when have you guys been? Patric, I know you've been.
Not recently.
Not recently. Dustin?
No, never. Love to.
So I've been coming here since 2020, and the first time I came in 2020, there was, when you looked at the Google Maps, there was only strip between the main road and the sea, okay? And then nothing else was kind of built. Right now, when you look at the Google Maps, you see there is literally like small cities built nearby, and the growth and development here is crazy. And which is super interesting. I was actually thinking about like how technology helps in here, speaking with some developers and engineers, architects, but no one seems to care much about technology here, at least people I spoke with. And my conclusion is that the reason is cheap, very, very cheap labor that you can get here. So if you don't need expensive, you don't need software when you have cheap labor. Yeah? So yeah, but Dubai is booming. Dubai and Abu Dhabi is booming. There's lots of things are happening, starting from. I sound like I'm advertising now. Starting from metro lines, these crazy like 15-minute cities when you have like literally lagoons built inside the residential developments. I was passing through one today as well, and it was literally lagoon in between villas, like a 300-400 meters long lagoon, like 50-60 meters wide. Just incredible. So
are these homes that they're spinning up? Are they actually being lived in, or is it at this point 50% investment properties by foreigners that don't show up? I literally have no idea of recent days.
Yeah. So at this time, I was looking at actually commercial properties. So I know that the residential is quite in a state of a bubble. Everyone, well, the data says that in 2026, 27, 28, annually you will have around 200,000 units coming into the market, yeah? Which is a lot. Which is a lot. But on the other hand, this year alone, there were like 300,000 people who got residence here. Yeah, so the population grew to around 10 million, which is like 10%. Yeah, on annual basis.
That's twice Ireland, twice New Zealand.
Yeah, so there is a lot of demand. I guess these people need to live somewhere. Yeah, but the construction is everywhere here. It's just crazy. Yeah.
I guess I have to go.
Yeah. Do you see any companies here from technology?
That Shoop's remit. So yeah, I don't look at Middle East. That's what Shoop does. We have one company operating out of Dubai by an Indian founder. That one is doing very well for us, but 2 years in only. So we'll have to have much more time, and water flow down the river before I can really judge it. First 3 years were very good. And it's operating in the new construction and renovation market in Dubai.
Okay. What's happening in Dustin? Oh yeah, I was going to ask what's happening in your local economies. Like, how is the German economy doing right now, just before Christmas, and US?
I mean, I can start. So German economy. So it's not growing this year. The new government in March, like we had discussed earlier this year, I think they got a pass in their great book for this year, because they mobilized capital. They set, let's say, the initial rail tracks for their 4-year administrative term correctly, but also a few structural decisions that the country needs to take have not yet been taken or been avoided a little bit. So one of them is there are structural reforms needed on the pension system that Germany needs. And they kind of, again, punted it by making their life a little bit easy, avoiding real conflict in the coalition, etc. And so had they solved that, it would be better than a pass, I think, for a lot of people. But with that punt, I think the best to give them right now is pass. On the business optimism inside the country, better than the last 2 years. But you can also sense it's still, hey, can we please fix the structural issues kind of a state. So end of next year is another important milestone to take the temperature.
And construction volume-wise, I think there was lots of infrastructure funds being announced last, I think, April or around April.
Yeah, infrastructure business is strong. Not China strong, not India strong, but strong. And then residential has been picking up, actually, since the mid this year. So we're seeing, I don't know, cautious optimism or early optimism again from construction companies in the country, some foreign companies that decided to again ramp up their Germany activities, but far away from boom stage, right? So boom stage is something that we'll have to work toward.
Dustin,
how's it in the US?
Oh, I'll share an interesting conversation. I haven't talked to this person, if I could share their name, but it's with an executive at a construction firm and I respect him quite a lot. And we were talking about the current state. Well, one, he was the person that said he loves our podcast and that he feels like construction executives should be listening to us. And our conversation, yes, they should. Our conversation led me down like a path where I was like, this is such an interesting time for construction folks, more so than any ever. And I feel like we say that every 5 years. But there used to be a saying, no one ever gets fired for buying Oracle. No one's ever got in trouble for buying this blue. Yeah, IBM. No one's ever got in trouble for buying this blue chip stock. And I actually think we're at a point in time where there's some people making some buying decisions that actually they're going to get fired for because they didn't properly assess the market and look at some of these companies very early on. Because there's a lot of folks that are placing their bets, where the market is right now, not where the market's going and who's most likely to take them there and who actually understands. Not like we talked a lot about, like, you can get lost in process and not actually focus on what's our objective. And everyone's objective should be winning more work, building trust with their clients and customers. And a lot of people are nuanced on what's the process, and the process matters, but the objective of what we want things to look like and how we want to interact is more important. And a lot of people, this is just my interactions with the market, a lot of people are getting lost in the process today. And I think that people that get lost in the process and not have meaningful conversations about where businesses are going, what their visions are making people are making great buying decisions. Some people are making poor buying decisions. And it's for the first time, I think, that a lot of people are going to make some bets and what would traditionally be safe and look really foolish in 2 years.
That's very interesting about the process. I've heard something about the UK. I can't remember when I read it, that people are more focused about having their processes correct in a nice way, 100%, rather than, like you said, focusing on objectives. I just think it's the feature of very advanced Western economies.
Yeah, and maybe not boom times, but maybe stable business times, positive times, especially in the stock market. Dustin, I wasn't quite sure whether you referred only to the stock market or the wider economy. I'm guessing both.
Both.
Yeah. Yeah, because in the stock market, the phenomenon that Dustin is describing, I think we're in that time frame in Europe too. I mean, European stocks have been on a rally for the whole year, if not longer. Lots of foreign capital coming into it, blah, 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 blah. And then everybody feels like they're super smart, right? Because your stock is up 20% for the year. I have to stay in, right? And so that's how I interpret your guidance here, Dustin. That's the process, right? I get caught up in the process, and it'll continue to go up because boom, and this and that and the other. But really, what you need when you invest, whether it's a stock, whether it's your startup, or whether it's your traditional company, every resource allocation is a decision. It's to stay inside a stock is a resource allocation decision. To sell a stock, that's a resource allocation decision, because every time you decide to stay in or to get out, it's making the decision that this is where your capital now stays for whatever the time frame is, next day, next week, next year. So you can't get away from making a decision when you allocate resources, because left or right, it's going to be that. And then if you're caught up in the process, your decision might look like, let me stay in because there could be more here. I don't want to sell when there could be another 20% up. But when you approach it from the other side, hey, where else could I allocate it that gives me perhaps a better return tuned into the current market context, then all of a sudden you become more thesis driven, right? And so then you ask yourself, okay, where is actually in the market context the best opportunity right now? And that, I agree with you, Dustin. I think that hasn't happened a lot in the last maybe 2 or 3 years, and certainly not in AI.
It's certainly easy to get caught up, and I'm certainly guilty of it as much as anyone else. But it's always important to step back, and I try to do that when I have time. But step back and say, what's our objective? And
Yeah,
you have that on like micro scales and then macro scales in your life, and somewhere in between. But like, I do see a lot of people just getting so caught up in their process, they lose sight of what is the goddamn objective here. Whether it's investing, it's like the objective is investing, but it's also preservation of capital, right? If you're a good institutional investor, you don't want to have like down years of 30 or 40%. So there's just methodologies that I think a lot of people have lost their way. But
Okay.
the reason I thought of it is because it was so refreshing to actually hear from. I actually had 2 conversations with 2 great general contractors where they were doing the approach I was talking about. I was like, it was such a refreshing conversation, because oftentimes I talk to people that are like, this is the process and we have to do it this way. And like, what's your objective right now? Let's talk about those and how do we get you to meet those?
And we will ask Tanmay about his objectives as well in a second.
Yes.
Hey, Tanmay.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see everyone. Thanks for having me.
Tanmay, I
Nice
have
to
to
have
drop,
you.
unfortunately, but that's not a verdict on Parallax. I actually said at the top, I really, really like your thesis. So I'll leave you guys to it. But congratulations on your round and all the best. I think you have an amazing thesis.
Right. Thank you so much.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Nice to meet you,
Tanmay.
Yeah, nice
Tanmay.
to meet you guys.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah, so Association of Advancing Automation said Parallax World raised 4.9 million to stress test robots before they hit the factory floor. What does it exactly mean, and what do you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So, contrary to what you might think, there's actually millions of robots that are used in the real world today, right? In factories, in warehouses, in different ways. But most of them actually don't use AI in any way. Most of them are actually blind. So, roughly 75% of the robots in the US don't even have a camera on them, right? So, when we think about the current state of industrial robot adoption, it is by and large these robots that follow pre-programmed trajectories over and over again, and that's how they become reliable. But the moment you throw even a single camera on there, at that tinge of AI where the robot is maybe trying to do object detection to figure out where is the box that I'm trying to pick up, for example, that's where a big source of failure comes in. Time and time again, we talk to various auto manufacturers, other different kinds of sheet metal manufacturers, and they say that when we introduce these components, these black box AI components into our robots, that's when the reliability drops down and it becomes really uncertain on how to work in environment. Am I cutting in and
Tanmay,
out?
yeah, you just for the last 5 seconds, but it's fine now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I was saying, when these manufacturers add even that first tinge of AI into the system, that is when the uncertainty on the reliability of the system really rises up. And a lot of manufacturers have seen these cases in which they put this robot, go through some period of initial testing that has maybe a camera on it. But 3 months in, 4 months in, they see all of these failures that never popped up during testing. Now the robot is down, there's downtime in the factory, and they lose $1 million in a single day. So what we're saying is that, hey, there's a lot happening in the AI and robotics space, right? Putting these foundation models or even basic computer vision models on these robots. And there's a lot of potential there. But if we actually want to see these robots come into real world factories, we must test them way more than we test our traditional robotic systems so that we can get that high level of reliability. And that's what Parallax is building, a way to test these robots in the exact replica of these production environments across thousands of test cases so that you can have deep observability into, is the system working and when might it fail?
So you're building like a digital twin of a situation around the robot and the robot itself, and then you test it virtually when it moves things here and there or performs tasks, and you are searching for clashes or problems or issues with both hardware and software. Is that the right way?
Yeah, mostly so focused on the software, I would say. And there's a lot of complications in building that system, especially when we want to test for the AI of it. Like a very basic example I would say is any sort of intelligence that you're seeing nowadays in robots, right? It uses the cameras that I've been talking about to perceive the world, to figure out what to do. If you want to test for that inside of a digital twin, that means your digital twin's camera must also look very, very realistic. Otherwise, you
Right.
have these AI models trained on millions of real images. But then if you put it inside of this, video game like simulation, the
It's trained
reliability
on
of
pixels.
it drops down. Yeah. So a lot of work done. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, so this is analogous to if you have a web app, a QA/QC engineer, or even the AI QA tools that you can now use to go ahead and run it and come back and like, okay, here are some pathways that are broken now in your application. And a way to do that at scale rather than giving it to a customer and allowing them to break it. Because I'm sure it's much harder to QA/QC these things until they actually just get in the field. So you're giving a virtual platform to actually do that. That's awesome.
Absolutely, yeah. These things have existed in the general software domain for a long time, right?
Yeah.
How we build websites and apps and everything. We load test them. We know how to do that very well. But yeah, for robotics, all of this by and large happens physically today. You have to take the robot, go to the factory, put the robot there, run it, and see what happens. Yeah, and I can speak to the complexities of it and to the complexities of simulating it. But yeah, it's a completely manual process today by and large.
I mean, and even with all we do in software, we still release bugs in the applications, right? Like, and so I just, it's so fascinating because like you can release something into production and then we can roll it back once we know it exists. But when you're in the physical world, you can cause a lot of damage.
Yeah.
And so the more you test, the higher the testing seems more valuable in my mind to try to identify as many problems as you can up front. Because the
Yeah.
physical world testing, one, it takes time, right? Like it just takes hours being in whatever situation until you might encounter all the situations that could potentially be problematic.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's the number one thing that we use when we're making our sales as well, that, what is the cost of physical testing in terms of the literal materials cost on you have to travel, you have to set up a robot, you have to set up this QA cell, and then even just time on, you're going to spend a team of engineers, that's going to do this. And how much money do you save if we just do this on the cloud in simulation? So yeah, that's definitely a big thing that we focus on as well, because when these robots fail, they lose millions in a single day, in a few hours actually, in these large factories.
Well, and they look kind of silly when they get stuck.
True. Yeah, you get a headline, you get a really bad headline. Yeah.
Tanmay, why this has not been done before? Like what happened recently that, or since you started a business, that you started believing that this is possible?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I was talking about that aspect of intelligence today relies on cameras. So, if we want to test for intelligence in simulation, the camera rendering in simulation must look very realistic as well. So, being able to do that in an easy way was not something that was possible more than I want to say 1 or 2 years ago. So, there's been a lot of advancements that people are really familiar with on the language model side because everyone can interact with chatbots. But you might have heard of things like Gaussian splatting or NeRFs, which are basically these ways of going from video to 3D models, right? In a very, very realistic and very accurate way. So we've capitalized a lot on that line of research. So what that allows us to do today is basically go from an iPhone Pro, so it's a consumer hardware. We have an iOS app on it. So you just go around a space, make a video. And with that video of the space, we can create a very photorealistic, metrically accurate, so that's accurate in less than a centimeter model of this 3D space. And this, just this part of the tech was impossible more than a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's your background?
I've been working in robotics for the past 6 years. So I got my start working on underwater robots, then spent 2 years working on drones at a company called Centera that was recently acquired by John Deere. Came to Stanford for grad school, worked in Professor Feifeli's lab on home robots, simulation, that kind of thing. And yeah, it was 2023 when I was about to graduate. All these people in the lab were beginning to do different things. Carol Hausman who's now at Physical Intelligence. He was giving a lecture. He was a professor at Stanford at the point, and was giving a lecture on how these foundation models could maybe be used for robots. And Feifei was about to start World Labs, and there's a lot of different PhD students who are looking at the space, and we thought that yes, there's a lot of potential in what AI can do for robotics, but to actually put it in a factory, there's still a long way to go. There's a lot of operational challenges, reliability challenges that need to be solved. So while all of these people are focused on, maybe the very core algorithm of the robot, someone needs to work on really the deployment challenges, the reliability, integration challenges. And that's what the company's focused around for us.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm very curious because robots are obviously tangible devices, and whereas you are testing the software, if the software is going to run properly, how about taking it like a step further and testing through the software if the hardware is going to perform? Is there something out there, or that's the wrong question to ask?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question. And there is a future in which these two worlds coincide. And I think when you're doing the simulation, you really have to decide to what level of physical structure do I want to simulate, right? So if you're simulating a robot today, by and large in software simulation, we mostly care about the big sort of arms of the robot, right? Like it's you call it the base link and then the shoulder and the end effector on the gripper, right? We don't go down to the nuts and bolts that are holding those together. Or for instance, we don't go down even further and say inside of a specific motor, how are the gears looking, how are those functioning, right? Like
You're just
even
going to the point in time or the points that it's interacting with the physical world, but not what supports those points.
Exactly. Yeah. So we say in software simulation that we're going to abstract all of that away. I mostly care about the behavior of the robot and what is it doing and why is it doing it. Hardware simulation would be the opposite. That I don't know what the software is going to be. It could be anything for all I care, but I need the motor to work. If the user is saying go to 30 degrees, it needs to go to 30 degrees with a micrometer accuracy, and then you need to model everything: the bolts, the nuts, the gears, the voltage, the power that you're getting into the motor and everything. So right now there are separate separate pieces of software that do that. And in the hardware world, those have been established for a long time. And then there's the software simulation piece that focuses on an abstracted level of that problem. There could be a future in which these two worlds intersect, but I don't see that happening in the next year or two.
Are you working in any construction robotics with any construction robotics companies maybe, or is there any angle from construction point of view that your software can be utilized? Like, tell us anything on that.
Yeah, definitely. So one of our customers is Bot Build, which is this company based out of North Carolina. They use robots to basically build frames for houses right now and different sites. So yeah, we've been able to build this digital twin of their factory that has 6 robots in it. Last I remember, and yeah, we were able to simulate their robot structure, bring it into something like Isaac Sim with just that iPhone video, and then simulate, okay, if you are running these algorithms for stud detection, for nailing these pieces of wood together, is it working well? How well is it working? And yeah, there's a lot of use cases apart from it. Basically, if you're building any application for the literal construction of the houses, in this case, like joining pieces of wood together, or even in terms of inspection, like let's say you want a robot dog to move around a site, take a bunch of pictures, and you wanted to simulate how well is the dog doing that, is it colliding with things, you could do all of that inside of the platform.
Okay, so if someone is a construction tech founder and they are building robotic startups, why they might think that, okay, we will be testing it in house and all of that. Like, why would your software be better used for them than them building it for themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you wanted to build a full simulation of, let's say, one production site today, what you would have to do is go out and hire a team of CAD engineers, not even just one CAD engineer, but a team that is going to maybe look at this construction site that you're going to put at this robot in. You're going to have to measure every single thing, right? Every wall, every fixture, every pipe, every piece of metal that you see. Then they're going to go back to their office and they're going to 3D model it. It's going to take a team of, depending on the size of the site, of course, it's going to take them weeks to months to just model this whole site out. When you have these CAD models, then you can bring them into simulation. Now, doing all of this just allows you to model the 3D environment. There's still that question on, does this look realistic enough so that if I have an AI model, it will still operate in the simulated environment the same way that it would operate in the real environment, right? So you would still have to evaluate that.
Can you
With
have you been able to take the information from some of the on-site solutions like on-site IQ or OpenSpace?
Jens,
Yeah,
just briefly, because we need to run on to the next one.
yeah. Not too much right now. So right now we've stuck to the iPhone modality. We are doing some experiments in which we take data from the robot itself, because the
Mhm.
robot a lot of the times has the data that we're looking for. But by and large, iPhone Pros.
Okay, that's
Okay.
super cool.
Tanmay, thank you. Tanmay, thank you very much. Congrats on the race and good luck.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey, Luigi. Sorry to keep you waiting.
Hey, how's it going?
There he is.
I'm good. How are you?
Dustin, Martin, how's everything?
Good to see you.
Good.
Great.
Patrick had to go, but he will see you on Tuesday.
Okay.
at 3:30 GMT, I guess.
Got it. Too scared to face me
Mm.
live. Makes sense.
No, not Pat, not Mike,
This is so
not
good.
Mike, not Mike.
Oh, sorry. Patric
Yeah.
is not here. Okay,
Patric,
where's Mike?
yeah, Patric.
Yeah, where's
Oh
Mike?
no. We're hoping he's coming. No, I'm sure he's coming.
Your brick
Okay.
post was hilarious.
Thank you. I actually received so many concerning messages from my family. Cousins, like, oh my God, Luigi, what happened? Is everything okay? And I had to go clarify it. But you know what was interesting is it performed exceptionally well. Like within the first day, like 40,000 impressions, and I think it was because it was like pattern interrupt. You know, it wasn't like it was a really like lazy post, but yeah, it got some
Best post ever.
That's right. Mike, how's it going?
What's
Hey, Mike.
up? Hey,
What's
Towers.
happening?
I'm glad I have you guys not facing each other, but on the screens in separate cities, because that could be a very dangerous moment right now.
Yeah, let me at him.
What's up, everybody? Happy Thursday. Good to see you this week, Dustin. Your smiling face.
It is. It was good to see you. Mike was in San Francisco for a board meeting, and then we have a mutual attorney, so we got to catch up
Very cool.
because they had a holiday party.
Nice. Mike, where are you
Nice.
based usually?
I'm in Charleston, South Carolina.
Very cool. How is South Carolina?
But
these days?
your bricks are flying far.
Yeah.
Yeah, bricks are flying far. It's 65 and warm here.
He's got a big arm on him.
Mm-hmm.
Luigi,
Okay,
where are
mate.
you?
I'm in Toronto, Canada.
Luigi, how tall are you? I can't tell. You look like a tall guy.
6'3.5".
Okay.
Very tall.
Yeah, so we have two very tall people
Yeah.
facing off.
Mike, how much do you weigh?
Yes.
In kilograms, I have no idea. 6'7", 215 was my stat book out of high school. So I'll stick with that.
6'7", 215. Nice.
Getting recruited to play basketball in college, but decided to become a mechanical engineer instead. And yeah, I think I made the right decision.
Nice. Okay, you got me on height and weight. I'm 210. We don't know reach though. Right?
You can
Reach,
scale.
I think I'm close to 7 feet.
Yeah. Well, what's the wingspan? So Martin, how do you want to conduct this intellectual weigh-in?
Yeah, so you can still get some skills in the techniques, Luigi. Yeah, no, but jokes aside, we have Mike and Luigi now. It's a teaser for the debate which will happen next Tuesday, 3:30 GMT. They will be debating whether modern large language models like Gemini and ChatGPT-4 have solved construction problem, right? So Mike argues that the problem is solved and the off-shelf solutions can hit 100% accuracy on symbol detection today. Luigi says that this is the dangerous illusion and that messy reality of construction liability breaks generic models every single time. That's right, yeah.
You know, question
Let's
to the
get ready to rumble!
question
That
to
was
the
good.
group. So how do we determine the winner? Is this just going to be the moderator? Is he deciding?
Yeah.
Or are we doing, everyone's opinion before the debate, everyone's opinion after the debate? Whoever moves the most people.
Make it
wins.
more intellectual, yeah.
Well, there's many ways to do this, right? You can just say,
Yeah.
Patric.
We can also, we'll for sure open it up for comments at the end and see what people say, how you convince the community. But I actually didn't ask Patric what you think. What do you guys think is the best way to measure it?
I have a view.
Oh, I absolutely think we need to. We should probably post it afterwards with the link to the video and take a poll. I think we need to poll the surveys, poll the company.
Yeah.
I'm So I will state kind of my opinion on this is that I think in a way both of you will end up being partially correct. And I think that technically there is going to be things that the Geminis do not pick up with, but I think in some respects, it's not going to matter in 2 to 3 years because that's That's kind of where I'm coming from. But I actually don't think we should debate it right now. I don't want to get into the specifics. I think it's really fun that you guys are doing this, and I don't think we've ever seen anything like this in construction. And I actually think it's kind of healthy. So I applaud you both for just like taking a stand and doing this like in just good faith and fun. And
It'll be fun.
more people should do stuff like this. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people out there that post ideas, and you're like, well, let's talk about it. And then like, no.
Yeah, Luigi.
Yeah, you
Luigi, I know we
have
chatted
one right now.
Yeah, Luigi, I know we chatted last week about this, but like even just the idea of like actually having a discussion of what's actually like what are the actual capabilities in market right now is something that's just like so missed in the space. Like the fact that Luigi and I can talk and be like, hey, like here's where we think things are, here's where things are going, and we actually can like prove and show results on it. I think is a huge push forward for the construction tech and construction market. Because there's a lot of facade and demos. I mean, we were seeing facades and demos when we were selling Building Connected in 2016, where certain companies were saying we had this proprietary network of contractors that no one else could have. And the Building Connected take that we took was like, hey, all right, come see the network and come look at it and prove that data point wrong. And we're going to see a lot of that now. It's like, I think what Luigi's building is really, really awesome, really cool. And I know he's going to start like being very, very vocal about like, hey, come try it. Don't just like believe my position of what I'm saying on my marketing post, but come try it. And we can go benchmark it against the market, which I think is really, really powerful because it only helps the end customer. Like at the end of the day, no one here is the customer, right? Like we're selling to customers that are actually doing real world problems in this space. Not just Luigi and I bickering about throwing rocks at each other across the country.
Yeah, I agree. The format is not done here. I mean, it's done in tech, like people go on TPPN and they're challenged a little bit. And I think that's good. If you're just within your own marketing channel, no one can really challenge you. And ultimately the customer is just going to decide if it's good or not. But yeah, like the content's interesting. And like Mike, when you and I were going back and forth, I was like, this is actually a really fun conversation. Let's broadcast it and, change things up a little bit. So I'm
There's
happy
a lot of companies raising a lot of money that have not been able to publicly show anything that they're presenting, that they're showing. And I'm willing and open to having that conversation with people. I'm ready to hear it.
Yeah.
Say that again. What a lot of companies are doing, Mike?
There's a lot of LinkedIn posts. There's a lot of companies raising a ton of money that's saying they're doing specific things that there's no actual public visual of them showing those specific things. And all we're asking for is, hey, like, let's go out and have those conversations and do those types of things. We're launching an external tool called Labs, Built Vision Labs. That's literally going to have open source, different AI tooling that anyone can leverage in market to actually show what we're doing and show how valuable it is and actually see that before trying to force them into this long, expensive contract or something like that. So yeah. I think the market's changing. These customers are getting smart. They are very intelligent. They're building the most complicated buildings in the world. People say construction is behind the curve on technology. You go try to build a 100-story building in Manhattan. That is probably one of the most complicated things in the world. So I think people don't give the customer enough credit of what they're actually doing.
And things like this will make the customer more knowledgeable about at least what we think is like the current frontier of knowledge in all these problem domains. I think the only problem I have with people not sharing what they're doing is, I actually don't know where they are, right? Like they could be building their own models and maybe that helps, maybe it doesn't, but like, I would love to know, at least from a competitive standpoint, but obviously they don't have to, like Sarah at Trunk Tools doesn't have to show us what she's building. Like there's no obligation to us. We could only inform the customer base as to like whether this is kind of baloney if they're not talking about the F1 score or what their evals are. If you don't talk about those things, and maybe it's a bit of a grift, but we'll enrich the discourse by doing this, and also we'll have some fun because this is
Luigi,
marketing.
To your point, we could actually make the buyer's problem actually diminish. A lot of people are over inundated with optionality, and there's no way to actually like evaluate these properties without actually getting a full presentation with those companies, because there's no mechanism for any of us to go out and talk. And like the biggest culprits actually are Autodesk or Procore. Like you can't actually like touch their software without like going in and like talking to someone. Like there's no easy mechanism to be like, and good luck having any of them come and sit down and like debate the pros and cons of what they're doing. And actually like, no, it's not going to happen. And so like the more we can actually like push out, like, okay, let's sit down and talk, like, because we also get lost. Like, it's very unlikely that anyone on this table is solving every problem for everyone. I'm going to say the likelihood is 0, right? So you might have a nuanced solution that is very good for a subset of a demographic, and you're competing against someone else, and maybe they're more optimized for a subset of another demographic. We've seen many markets where, like cybersecurity, where there's a lot of cross overlap, and people choose a particular cybersecurity company versus another for a variety of reasons because of what they do. Whether you're going to use Palo Alto Networks, you're going to use CrowdStrike, you're going to use one of the other ones out, SentinelOne. There's like 15 others. But yeah, I really like this. I'm also, Mike, to your point, there is a lot of companies. We actually had one on here, and I don't mind saying it now. The guy said he's revolutionizing the pre-con for EPC projects. I'm like, what did you just say? Show me that. Like, that's not a real thing.
I do think benchmarks make sense. That's why I like Mike's open source idea. We should do benchmarks. I mean, we don't do that here. This is why model providers, you can, they're leapfrogging each other every other week or so. You have to choose the workflow. You have to choose a bit of like the parameters on how you're testing it, what the data is, and whatnot. But I mean, that'd be great. That would cut through all the marketing and say, oh, Provision actually does have the best chat in pre-con, or Build Vision actually does identify tables the best. That would be fantastic. Mike, you said you're doing something like that, right?
Yeah, it's coming Jan 1. So we're launching the website next week. It's going to be completely open source. Anybody can post a workflow. We're going to give some backend tooling to allow them to leverage some of the things that we've done in the background, so they don't have to rebuild the ability to process 10 gigabytes of files. We can just do that for them. But again, it's going to be all open source. Anyone's going to be able to leverage it. You can be able to build out their own workflows based on what they weren't trying to do. And they can chat to anyone on our team about building out better things for their system.
That's your open source, but you're not doing you're not doing a benchmark.
So then it's going to be all benchmarked. Yeah. So we're going to release all the benchmarks that are tied to that. So there's all these different workflows and categories that breaks down into, and then we're going to post these like public benchmarks that are like, hey, here's the table. How accurate can you get, and how does it compare to Gemini, Claude, all those different tooling? Same thing with some takeoffs. Same thing with really anything. The hard part about benchmarking is you have to make it like super repeatable for everybody. So it's got to be like, hey, here's the PDF. Go drag and drop this into your system, your tooling, and provide the output in a certain amount of time. So it'll probably be like tied to like what Hugging Face does very successfully, is just kind of the open market of it. But looking for more construction tech companies to partner with on it. Like, again, I think it's good for market. It can be very knowledgeable. It can kind of give you insights into like what is possible as well.
Right.
But yeah, that'll be coming in January.
Your symbol recognition score will be 100%.
100% every time.
Love it.
All right, gents.
That was great.
Gents, great.
Sweet, yeah. Love what you're doing, Mike.
LLM debate next Tuesday. Great LLM debate next Tuesday, 3:30 GMT. Can't wait. Hopefully Patric will do famous Michael's buffer. Let's get ready to rumble. Last words, Mike to Luigi, Luigi to Mike. Mike starts.
Nice. Luigi, love what you're doing. Excited to chat with you on Tuesday. I think agreeing with Martin and Dustin, we're going to find a lot of similar thought patterns. And I think it's the different approaches that will allow customers to see how that perspective pans out.
Be more punchy.
The most political way possible.
So Canadian of you. So amenable.
We needed the American brassness and boldness.
The American brassness. Yeah.
I'm going to seize your boats and warn your country.
We'll do the JD Rockefeller quote then. We're going to crush all competition or force you to join us.
Nice. I'm looking forward to acquiring your company for $1. $1 Canadian.
God, that's only like 70 cents.
Even buy coffee.
Mike, you were too diplomatic.
No, Mike, honestly, you're crushing it. But looking forward to it. It's going to be really, really fun.
Good. Okay, that was Bricks, Packs, and Bytes.
All right. Thanks, team. See you guys soon.
Thank you.
All right.
Martin, closing this out?
Yeah, let's do it.
Enjoy Dubai. Get some rest.
Yeah, you have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bricks, Bucks, and Bytes.